All right, today I want to discuss if you had a cold or a flu, and then you have that classic, I've never been well since then we need to dive into that today and discuss solutions.
Introducing the Paramena Bliss Podcast, a show dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of achieving optimal health naturally as you transition into perimenopause and menopause. Get ready to join your host, Dr. Seth Yates, an experienced naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and kinesiologist, as he shares his wealth of knowledge acquired from over 40,000 patient visits and 15 years in working with perimenopausal females. Welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast.
Hey, I'm Doc Yates. This is Paramena Bliss, brought to you by perimenobliss.com and ablehealth.us. And today I want to discuss how to treat those viral infections that just seem to drag on, those long viral infections and it can be a big array of symptoms, and sometimes the symptoms aren't the same as the acute symptoms that you had when you initially got sick. So, because here's the thing, if you're only using antibiotics, and that's what they're giving you, we're dealing with a viral infection, and while antibiotics could be good at preventing a secondary bacterial infection, a lot of these symptoms are viral symptoms, which means antibiotics are probably only going to lead to side effects. Like they might just destroy your gut bacteria. They could lead to C. difficile, yeast, candida, any other type of those issues, which are only going to make things worse, not better. So, what do I do in practice on a regular basis to treat this? A lot. And when I say a lot, I mean there's a lot of things I have someone do because I don't want these things to drag on. So today I want to discuss what are the main things that I like to give people in practice and get them to do at home so that if they're dealing with a long viral infection, how they can get over it quick. So the symptoms that you might find, sometimes people feel like shortness of breath or fatigue. Sometimes they feel dizziness or lightheaded. It almost feels as if like it was low blood pressure, even though their blood pressure is not that low. So they get dizzy easier with movement or exercise. They feel weak. If they stand up quick, they feel dizzy. A lot of times you'd think, oh, this is low blood pressure or low blood sugar. But yeah, when you check it, it's not too bad. Other things that you'll see is difficulty breathing. Sometimes they feel like they still have a cough, and it could be a productive cough or a dry cough. That might feel like there's stuff, almost like a constriction within their chest. Aches. Night sweats is a big one. Night sweats that continue, and I don't mean menopausal night sweats because I know I'm talking to my perimenopause audience. I'm talking about night sweats that only you've had since having this infection, whether it was days ago, weeks ago, or even a month or more ago. If you're still getting that, or chills. People would be a lot more cold, more sensitive to cold. That's a very common one. Like I said, the muscles and everything feel tired. Like with any exertion, you just feel wiped. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating. Imagine all the symptoms of like a flu, but a little more mild, so it's not so clear. Like it's not a strong fever. We're looking for things where it's low grade everything, but it's just not clearing, and it's really annoying and disruptive. It's very disruptive. So, what do we do about it? Number one, antivirals. So I like to use a lot of natural antivirals, and I combine them together into one formula. And I'll list some of the herbs that I like to use. Number one is Baptisia. Anytime I'm dealing with a chronic viral infection that involves a lot of fatigue, Baptisia is always in the mix. I'll put in something like Usnea. Now I know you can write these down and pause if you want to, but Baptisia, Usnea, elderberry extract, Lonicera, Forsythia, these are all combined into one formula. And this formula is generally a liquid, and this is called a tincture. So tinctures are liquid extracts where herbs are extracted into alcohol, because you can extract more of the components of the herb into alcohol than you can just into water. And those are all combined into one formula, and it's taken a teaspoon 4 times a day. Now, but unfortunately, that's not the only thing, because as I mentioned before, I don't like these things dragging on for people, so I treat them, I'd say aggressively, but we're using safe natural treatment, so there's nothing that's really aggressive about it. It's just more in-depth. The next thing is I use is these antimicrobial capsules. So they have berberine extract and propolis built into it. And every time you take a teaspoon of that liquid tincture, you take 2 of these capsules. So you're doing that 4 times a day. Throughout the day, I have people drinking teas. Now, the teas can vary depending on where it's sitting for the person, but a lot of times I use my chronic cough and cold formula tea. And since you probably don't have access to that, depending on where you're listening to this, I will list the ingredients that I found to be very helpful for that. So in that tea, there is always Horehound. Horehound, it works really good for any type of inflammation and like tight mucus within the chest. Now, the only issue with Horehound is that it's bitter, which means that when you're using this tea, you can add lots of honey to it because that's good for coughs and colds as well. Coltsfoot is in the mix, so you're using Horehound, Coltsfoot. I usually put additional elderberry into the formula as well because it makes the tea taste better and it gives some more benefits from the elderberry and the antiviral effects of that. A little bit of licorice, and sometimes for the mucus you add orange peel. It helps clear out the mucus, and the licorice helps soothe the throat. So those are the main things that I'll be putting in the tea. So far we've got a tincture, capsules, and tea, all of which we're doing kind of together, generally 4 times a day. Now, that's the only remedies I have people do. The rest is kind of home treatments. One of the most important things to do is that when your body has this low-grade fever, you have to remember that a fever is the body's immune response to fighting something off. And when the fever is not getting high enough, it's not doing enough to generate the temperature that decreases the ability for the viruses to replicate and increases the replication of your white blood cells. So we want to give the body a little bit of a hand. So we want to heat things up. So I have people do daily hot baths, generally with Epsom salts and baking soda. In the bath, you have to be in there enough that you're really inducing your body to sweat. We want to induce sweating on a daily basis. So you would get into this hot bath. Now, if you're feeling lightheaded, make sure that there's someone at home with you, and especially for the first time you're doing this. But I've never actually had an issue, but just some forethought. Make sure that you have someone there when you're doing your first hot bath. Make sure that you don't feel too lightheaded trying to get out. But yeah, you need to do something to induce sweating as if you're stimulating a fever. Once you've done that, you then get out, dry yourself off, dress warm, and go lie down. And what will happen is that you'll continue to sweat while you're in bed. Now you're going to put on a bunch of old clothes, so you don't want to get your bed stuff all sweaty. And then from there, you dry yourself off, put on fresh clothes, and continue on with your day, which should be a pretty restful day. Finally, at night, if one of the symptoms that you have is this chronic irritation in your chest, or it feels like it's a dry cough or things aren't just leaving, I have people do what's called an onion poultice or an onion pack. And what that involves is you take 2 onions, they can be white onions or yellow onions, you dice them up really fine, you can put them in the microwave if you want to and just heat them up for about 30 seconds. You put it in a tea towel and you wrap it up so it's about the size of an 8x11 sheet of paper. At nighttime, you sleep with a t-shirt on, and I have people basically smear themselves with camphorated oil or like a Vicks Vapor Rub and then put the onion pack right on their chest and sleep with that on their chest. And if you wear a tight t-shirt, that way even if you go on your side, you're not going to be spilling onions all over the place. But that really helps for a lot of people to loosen up any mucus within the chest and reduce inflammation, I have found. So let's just review. We've got the tincture, the capsules, and the tea. Those are the top 3 formulas that we use on a daily basis 4 times a day. You're doing hot baths followed by rest and sweating. The goal is to induce sweating. And then at nighttime, if needed, you're doing onion packs and camphorated oil. So in doing that, instead of these things dragging on for a few weeks, it should be just a few days. And at that point, you will notice things start clearing, at least in my experience. So if that's not the case, and there's still things that are still dragging on or moving around, still continue those remedies and give it a few extra days. I've seen a few people where it started in their chest, but then it moved to their sinus, but then it moves around. But just keep treating it, keep using those remedies, and then if it's not enough, then it makes sense to go seek some more additional help. But I've found the vast majority of cases by doing this really clears things out quite quickly. So I hope you have any questions, let me know. But I hope this was helpful. This is Doc Yates signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paramena Bliss podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit paramenobliss.com for more valuable information on how you can thrive during your transition through perimenopause. Join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to achieving optimal health naturally, and stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and advice from Dr. Seth Yates. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paramena Bliss podcast.